So I started my career clinically as a nurse. After qualifying, I worked for a few years on the wards at Guy's Hospital and then at the Royal Free Hospital. Whilst I was working clinically, I decided I wanted to pursue my master's in population health. This was very similar to public health, and I studied this at UCL part-time whilst continuing to work part-time on the wards. During my master's, I learned a lot about health inequalities, health systems, health economics, research methods, and I gained an insight into world-leading research in public health. This made me really interested in developing my career into something, while still healthcare focused, that had a potential national and international reach. Once I completed my master's, I applied to become a research nurse. I will talk about what this entails next, but I worked as a research nurse in oncology trials for a few years, and then I worked on COVID clinical trials. So these included vaccine studies, inpatient treatment trials, and post-hospitalization recovery studies. As a research nurse, I worked at the site, in this case hospital level, and I worked directly on trial delivery. I had the following roles and responsibilities. So firstly, I worked in participation, recruitment and enrolment. So I would screen potential study participants and ensure they met the inclusion-exclusion criteria. I would explain the study details to the participants, ensuring they understood informed consent. And I would assist in obtaining written informed consent from these participants. A main part of my role was study implementation and coordination, so I would coordinate the daily operations of the study, ensuring adherence to the protocol. I would schedule study visits and communicate with participants about appointments. I would administer treatments, medications, or interventions as per the research protocol. I would perform clinical assessments such as taking vital signs, drawing bloods, or collecting other biological samples, administer diagnostic tests or other protocol-specific assessments, and I would manage specimen collection, processing, and shipping according to study guidelines. In terms of data collection and management, I would collect, record, and manage data. I would monitor and document adverse events or side effects, and I would report these back to the study sponsor regularly. I would monitor participants for any health changes related to the study protocol, and I would conduct regular assessments and report any concerns to the principal investigator and or the sponsor. It was my job to ensure adherence to ethical guidelines of clinical trials, for example, good clinical practice, and this meant ensuring proper documentation for all research-related activities, including study visits, adverse events, and protocol deviations. So in summary, I'd say as a research nurse, I bridge the gap between the clinical practice and the research, ensuring patient safety and maintaining the study integrity. What is important to note with this role, I think, is that you do not always have to be clinical to carry this out. I worked with many clinical trial practitioners, trial assistants, and data managers who carried out the same role or aspects of the role without a clinical background. During my time as a research nurse, I gained a lot of knowledge and skills that allowed me to transition to the role of a trial manager. So a trial manager plays a critical role in overseeing and coordinating various aspects of clinical trials. Whilst as a research nurse, I was working on delivering multiple trials at once, as a trial manager, I have oversight of one study, and my primary responsibility is to ensure that the trial runs smoothly, adheres to protocols, and meets regulatory standards. Some of the things I do as a trial manager include trial planning and coordination, so developing and implementing trial plans, for example, developing protocols and trial implementation strategies. I manage and coordinate efforts of the research team, provide training on trial protocols, regulatory requirements, and data management procedures. I act as liaison between sponsors, investigators, clinical research coordinators, and other stakeholders throughout the trial. I ensure that the trial complies with all relevant regulations, so GCP, FDA regulations, any local regulatory or regulatory bodies. I oversee the preparation of trial-related documents such as protocols and informed consent forms, and I work closely with ethics committees to ensure that the trial meets ethical standards and that patient safety is, of course, prioritised. In terms of trial delivery, I oversee the selection of clinical trial sites and ensure that they are properly set up to carry out the trial. I regularly assess the performance of clinical trial sites, ensuring that they adhere to trial protocol and meet the quality standards. I address any problems that arise at trial sites, such as recruitment challenges, regulatory concerns, or any logistical issues. In terms of risk management, which is a key part of the trial manager role, I proactively identify potential risks for the trial. So this might be things like delays, protocol deviations, or safety concerns, and I would develop mitigation strategies for these. I would also manage any deviations from the protocol and ensure that they are documented and reported in accordance with regulations. Safety management and monitoring adverse events is also really important in the trial manager role. So as a part of this, I ensure patient safety by overseeing and monitoring adverse events and serious adverse events. I ensure that all of these adverse events and serious adverse events are reported where necessary to regulatory bodies in the appropriate time frame. And I collaborate with medical teams to address any safety concerns related to the trial. Regarding data and quality management, I work closely with the data management team to ensure that the data is collected, entered, and analysed in a way that maintains accuracy and integrity. I ensure that the data collection processes follow protocol and that any discrepancies or issues are addressed promptly. And I implement quality control measures to ensure that the trial data is reliable and compliant with regulatory standards. I work closely with recruitment teams to develop and implement strategies for participant recruitment, ensuring that the trial meets its recruitment goals. And I also implement strategies to keep participants engaged throughout the trial duration, reducing the dropout rates. At the end of the trial, it would be my role, I would be involved in trial closeout. So I would oversee the closeout of the trial, ensuring that all data has been collected appropriately. I would work with the team to prepare the final study reports, and I would ensure that all documentation is completed and archived according to regulatory requirements. I briefly touched on this before, but throughout the trial I'll communicate regularly with stakeholders, so I provide updates to any funding organisations on trial progress, recruitment, budget and any issues. I ensure regular reporting to regulatory authorities. And I work with the trial team to disseminate findings from the trial, including in publishing any results in scientific journals, conferences, or on other platforms. So this just briefly touches on my role as a trial manager. And moving on from this, there are many routes to take. You're able to progress to project manager or become more specialised as a quality assurance manager or a pharmacovigilance manager. My role as a trial manager now allows me to work with many different stakeholders and learn about the different roles by working alongside them. I hope this has been a helpful insight into one possible career route into clinical trials. Thank you for listening.